Ladies and gentlemen, thank you to the panel discussion the 2019 challenge. I would like to introduce my panel later to you, but first a quick introduction of what we are going to discuss. 2018 has been, let's call it an interesting year. 2017 we've seen a roller coaster in the crypto market. 2018 we started coming crashing down to, well, quite the lows in the crypto market. We've seen some regulators calling the Bitcoin securities or not securities, accepted or not accepted. So 2019 will obviously be equally a new and an interesting year. What would you see as the game changer or the big challenge for 2019? Thank you. JD?
I think what's happening actually right now this year is a really good thing. I feel like the market overall, just like Bitcoin, is kind of finding like a base, like a stock. And what I think for 2019 is that it's going to kind of shake the trees for a lot of the bad projects with no substance, the scams, this and that. And it'll kind of make the cream rise to the top. I think STOs will be the future, though I don't think ICOs are going to die for a while. I think ICOs will stay more relevant in the West, like they still are, sorry, in the East, in Asia, where I work a lot, where they still are. But I think the STOs will be great if countries can not follow the US in their current state, which is the Reg D, which really kind of is not a great opportunity for startups, especially pre-seed new projects. So that's where I'm at with it.
Thank you, JD. David?
Is that me?
We have a bad omen at the end of 2019.
I don't even have to speak.
It's all going to crap right now. This is over. That's it, guys. We're done. Check out. All right. I'm going to go back and be a farmer like I was in the past.
Stay focused.
Thank you. Just one thing I'd like to come back to. You mentioned the hype cycle. JD, if you think about the hype cycle, would it be good or would it be bad for the market in general? Hype cycle regarding the Bitcoin?
I don't think it's hard because I don't think it'll ever happen again, that hype cycle, because retail is too smart and the technology and the governing structures around the world are too smart now as well. I think the hype would be great. Every startup who's trying to create something loves having access to capital, and capital that's not tied to equity too, that gives you flexibility. Obviously there's the downsides that came with all of that we saw with tons of scams and just really bad projects, things that should never even be funded. I mean, you know, call them the S-word coins in America.
Yep.
But I think it would be great because this industry is really revolutionizing the future across the board in every single vertical. So having, and really, as we know, the only way to make progression is with capital, because you can't do anything without capital. It's just the way, that's physics. So we do need another influx. So I hope there is a rush, though I don't think it'll ever be as close to what it was this year.
Okay, understand. Yeah. JD, as an investor and as an advisor, 2019, what type of ICOs or what type of verticals do you expect will be very popular in 2019?
I think supply chain will always be there, financial will always be there, and fintech. I do see a wave of entertainment actually popping up right now with a number of companies. But I think in 2019, only the strongest will survive.
Yep.
And it's going to fall back to more traditional tech startup where you actually have to have a more real team and kind of real advisors and real substance. The funding is slowing down a little bit, or they're doing different models with equity and securities or equity and so utility tokens, and they're really going to be looking for stronger teams. And also, I think some of the investment, the funds which got into it for the high volatility, will also be decreasing their investments and looking more to stronger teams and not just for the quick buck, because you know we see what happened this year, and also regulation is changing. So I think next year will be a lot more open, but at the same time not constricted in certain areas too, if that makes sense.
Yep. Are you looking forward to 2019? Will it be a good year?
Yes, completely. Very, yeah. Because the last few months have been, I don't want to say stressful, but they've been interesting, and I think it's a necessity. But I'm excited to get past this stage and get into 2019, where there's a little bit more freedom again.
Yes.
And the market takes a turn.
Okay. Although I love listening to my own voice, I think it's always good to have questions from the audience. Do we have any questions from the audience?
So, preface it with, we've spent a lot of time in Malta. We've chosen Malta for our jurisdiction because for all the reasons that we have. If you were to evaluate Singapore, Malta, Bermuda, BVI, Gibraltar, Australia, Lithuania, Switzerland, how would you rank them? If you were starting a business today, where would you go 1, 2, 3?
JD, from an investor point of view, what jurisdictions would you...
Yeah, I have a lot of opinions on that. and no offense to Amsterdam or anything. I've just expanded into Malta for my company and working with a lot of the other regulators and consulting companies down there. We're partnering on services and stuff. And I think what you had said, it depends, this thing keeps falling, so my apology. It depends really what vertical you're in, what stage of your company, also what are you an ICO? I started with an ICO, an STO, an exchange, because that defers everything. To me, that changes everything. I think Malta is great right now. I would say they're almost #1. But you know, you can go to Estonia right now for an ICO and basically launch it for about $4 grand and get it done in a month. But you're in Estonia, you know. And then you go to Singapore, and Singapore to me right now is more regulation than those two as well. But Singapore is a very great spot for both ICO, STO, and exchanges. So I think if you had an exchange, I would probably go to Singapore or Malta. But then it also depends on, because let's look at this from a go-to-market strategy position. You're only talking about these hubs to just for the law and for the license. Okay, you still have to market a product. So it doesn't really, in essence, it doesn't matter where you set up because you still have to market it. So to me, I look at that. Where are your strong points in marketing? Where are your quickest ways to penetrate a market? Where are your partnerships? Where's your financing coming from, whether it's retail or VC? What communities and infrastructures can you get involved with in each of Malta? Phenomenal. I went down there and literally in a month and a half I had partnerships set up and a huge network, which is how I ended up speaking here because of Malta. Singapore is great too. Estonia, it's cheap. That's all I can say about that. So to me, you have to, you know, I'm a very analytical person. You have to look at all those factors before you decide on. Those are my top 3. Yeah. And then you go on the pros and cons of what suits your company.
Yeah. I think actually JD touches on an excellent point. It's not just where the regulatory environment or infrastructure is very comfortable or easy for you. You've got fiscal considerations, you've got legal considerations, regulatory considerations, but also access to resources I think is important, and access to clients is important. JD, looking at the ICO model, is the ICO model sustained in 2019, or are we moving to a different type of funding or a different type of model?
I think both. I think it's going to slow down eventually, and I think probably STOs will prevail, but everyone likes an ICO for obvious reasons, so there's still a lot of markets, especially the East. East is heavy ICO. I only hear little rumors about STOs there, you know, and obviously Malta went purely forward specifically with ICOs. So I think ICOs will be here for a long run, and who knows, maybe some new regulation, a new framework or technology, like the DICO we were talking about. I have no idea what that was. I think that's really incredible. He'll explain to you after, so go bum rush him, you know what I mean? And he'll explain. But I think it's great because with utility tokens, it does create the flexibility for startups to raise capital and liquidity. Still, with the security tokens, you get scrutinized a lot. There's a lot more regulation. There's a lot more equity kind of structure. I mean, it's great, don't get me wrong, but you're still not with this kind of blockchain, decentralized flexibility to do whatever you kind of want, which has its bad sides, as we know, but that's still the benefits of ICO, and I like them way better than ICOs, to be honest, right now. We'll see as the market develops where my opinion goes.
Okay, thank you. How do you educate your clients regarding ICOs the coming year?
Yeah, we have a checklist of at least 20 points, but the most important thing, whether it's an ICO or an IPO, always you have to take a look what is the business model. Yeah. Because when it's only an idea on a paper and it doesn't show revenue streams or profits, then you must not invest, definitely. And like Facebook also with the IPO, people thought, okay, what can you do with free social media platform? But this model is, of course, the revenues of the advertisements.
I think the team is quite important. Oh, question.
Yeah, can I ask you something?
Can you wait for the microphone?
Yes, sure.
So you're basically telling us you don't need influencers to do your marketing strategy, and you're also telling us right now that you don't trust the people who have a big expertise within the marketing industry, within the influencer marketing, because I think, in my opinion, it's very important to have, that you have people around you which are surrounded by, by a big Instagram page or Facebook or LinkedIn pages, and you definitely need those if you want your go-to-market. If you want, sorry, one more time. If you need your go-to-marketing strategy to do it well, and I think you need those influencers, and you're basically telling us you don't.
I think you made a distinction between paid for and genuine endorsements.
I mean, if I see Steven Seagal or Kim Kardashian with an ICO coming, that is a very big red flag. But when an influential person in the field, if they have a proven track record, whether they are advising ICOs or they are investing in themselves in ICOs, these kinds of influencers, yes, you can trust and you can have more confidence. Although it's not a sure bet, of course.
I have a thought on that, which I wouldn't look at. I look at that specifically from the team standpoint, because every other industry pays influencers, celebrity partnerships, pays politicians. We have to be honest about how the world works, and a lot of those are really great companies too. We're just in a world that was full of scams. And even, let's be real too, even the key crypto influencers get paid. So it's not all like innocence here in this market. So I personally would look at the teams, make sure they're valid, and not let Kim Kardashian, if it was Kim, I'd be like, but if they got a great team, hey, it is what it is. Money, it takes money to make money, glitz and glamour, that's how the whole world is work, but you have to weed out the crap that's within this industry.
Absolutely, I agree with that. But looking at the team, if I look behind us, I think this looks very reliable and investable. If you look at this team lined up here, guys, who thinks it's investable? Show of hands, please.
How much do you need?
We got one hand. Wow, that's amazing.
We're doing
coffee for the gentleman.
We're doing a 400 million. We're doing a 400 million hard cap right now. We got just a white paper too, by the way.
Wow, that goes up credibility.
Yeah, we're putting dog walking on the blockchain now. Revolutionize the world. Trust me. You want to buy our tokens.
You don't often hear that in this market, right? Revolutionize and game-changing. That's
absolutely
rare.
Well, yeah, if you're a service provider, which a lot of us are, I love that. I'll pay you with my fairy dust, $1 billion token. Get the out of here.
But no, I think it's a legitimate point you made, JD, that the industry is marked with people who, everyone gets paid at the end of the day, and in itself that doesn't need to be bad. And in itself, even in Dubai, that the head of the regulator is also the Minister of Finance. In a way, that doesn't have to be an issue, as long as you're open and transparent about it. And I think transparency is the one thing we're sort of still missing a lot in the industry, and especially in the people in the community. I find transparency and the lack thereof still an issue. I don't know if any of you guys want to chime in.
It should be one of the pillars of this industry, actually. That's what it's based upon. It's a trustless system, transparent. It should be independent of any corruption and influence, and it should be, retraceable and checkable. But if you create a flexible, fast system where money flies left and right, also corruption can fly left and right, and scams and fakers, and we know the rest of the story.
We are human beings, right?
Yeah.
In core nature.
Yes, Well, on that note about transparency, David and I are writing a book called Noblesse Oblige.
Shameless.
That's actually, that will be a free book, so we're not plugging it in that sense, it will be free.
He wasn't paid for this as an influencer either, by the way. Genuine.
But we specifically want to make sure that the industry professionalizes. Martijn, David, JD, Jan Robert, thank you very much for your time.